Welcome to the Log Jam. One of the few editions that we do not have Darren Adams on set. Had to travel out to Hollywood on league business. He is out there talking to our attorneys, trying to find out what we can do about the release of the documentary. Such a crazy offseason, crazy championship game that we're starting to get so much hype around the documentary, explaining last season that he is out working on some contract details, hoping to firm up a release date and a length and all those kinds of things. So good luck, Darren. Hoping to have you back next week, and we will see you at the movies. Coming in, I guess Cards Talk is a great way to start it off. The game mostly sucked, I got to be honest. It wasn't fun really at any point. I felt like this is the first time all year we got it handed to us. I did like the white jerseys though. The icy whites were nice. I like the little cardinals on the third stripe, reminiscent from a distance of that old cardinal blue. Really looked nice. Looking forward, in fairness, to the Suns' icy whites that they're going to deliver to us this season. And then, of course, next week we're breaking out for the first time the All Blacks with the black helmet. First time, I believe, at least I remember in league history, the Cardinals going all black. Should be sick. Hope we're playing better, but that's not so important. We are going to talk about the Diamondbacks in the playoffs. It is a shame that the first time the Diamondbacks are in the playoffs in the history of the Log Jam that Darren isn't here to chat it through. But in his honor, let's talk about the series. Maybe going in against the Brewers, a little post-traumatic stress syndrome from the postseason last time around. Nice to get back and put one to the Brewers. Starting off the series a little bit hesitate. You had to burn Merrill Kelly because you couldn't get through the wild card standings, but it all works out. A started off short. But really, even Zach Gallen started out a little bit shaky. So we recovered from there. The bullpen, the story in both games. We believe 6 2/3 innings scoreless in that hot start and 3 in the Gallen start. So 9 2/3 scoreless. What was a glaring weakness of the Diamondbacks seems to be coming together. You're looking at that Sewald maybe addition, although he hasn't been exactly stellar. He's gotten the job done, but everyone else seems to have filed in. Particularly Andrew Saalfrank came through big in game 2. We're happy to have him. Seattle native Corbin Carroll rapidly moving up my favorites list. May have to update the Goldschmidt jersey at some point. Also moving up the future dog rankings. Corbin would be a good name. Little Corby would be a great name for a puppy. Just saying. Love it when he starts off the rallies. What a great player to have watched. The runaway favorite to win Rookie of the Year this year. Pretty excited about that. Going into the Dodgers series, questions about Gabby Moreno. The early reports are that he is back, but he took that bat to the back of the head. Concussion potential issues. If he doesn't start, luckily the MLB concussion rules would allow him to come in mid-series potentially, but we're hoping that he's on the roster to start and is back there. Pitching for the first time in a playoff series, I remember, seems to be on schedule, possibly getting 2 Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen starts, and then only one Fahad start. We're not sure if that... Is that how you pass gas in Boston? You Fahad? I don't know. Nobody really knows for sure. But we are excited the Diamondbacks are into the playoffs. But that's not why you're here. You're here to talk about the Log Jam. And we are going to get into last week's games. The game of the week, as predicted, the Farrell Bowl. Daddy taking care of Young 100-81, slapping his son around. Justin Herbert, really the only star in that game. At 100 points, you can't have too many points, but a quarter of them came from your quarterback. Devontae and KW the third, both with nice nights. On the Young side, Pacheco with 28 was a nice number. Also, a running back, Bijan, getting you 22, but just garbage from there. A lot of head scratching on the Young sidelines. Hunter Henry starts and gets you 9 when Cole Kmet goes off for 28 on your bench. I think it was a 19.6 difference and would have been enough to make a difference in the game. As would a David Montgomery start with a 37 burger on the bench. Amari Cooper on your flex spot with 2.6.
As predicted last week.
As predicted. That is fantastic. In fairness, on the daddy side, Nico Collins had a 38 spot on his bench. So something probably going to see in the roster moving forward, or sources are saying Nico Collins might be on the trade block, might be on the move to head to somewhere else and pick up some production from there. Game number 2, the Avengers. High score of the week, 203 to the Sin 108. Pretty much a blowout all week. The Sin the third team this season to join the 300 Club. We believe the 13th team overall to do it, and the third time for the Avengers franchise. What can we say? Diggs and Allen, Allen and Diggs. Felt like it all morning. 48 and 39 combined. JJ with another 27. Khalil Herbert, nice start at 25. That feels like a piece that might be solidifying this Avengers roster moving forward. Someone they could potentially plug into that starting lineup. And then the Dallas defense rebounds with 29. Would have liked to have those last week when they got -5. Like, just unbelievable fortunes. Over on the Sin side, Josh Jacobs, a nice night with 28. And then Godwin cobbles together 22. Not much there. When you look down a little bit further on the bench, DJ Moore, kind of a bright spot for the Sin. Maybe someone they might end up starting next week. We'll see if that adds to their fortunes. But unfortunately, the Sin fall to 1 and 3. And then game number 3, the Zorros put up another big number, 186, handing it to the Fury, who only amounted to 80 points, getting the low points of the week this week. On the Zorro side, 3 players over 30, 5 players over 25. Paka Nakawa and Devin Achanana also with big numbers over 30. And then Jalen Hurts, your stalwart. Derrick Henry finally showing up. Mark Andrews making a little more depth possible on the Zorros side. Almost an optimal lineup. Left a couple points on the bench in your flex spot, but otherwise a great week for the Zorros. On the Fury side, what can you say? Travis Kelce leads the team with 16 points. Wondering if that Taylor Swift media hype is affecting the locker room there. The Bengals don't seem to be performing. Maybe a little bit of jealousy going back and forth there. 5 players on this Fury roster go to single digits this week. Amounting to 80 points isn't going to get you wins very many weeks. And when you're facing the Zorros and that 186, it's not going to happen this week. So the Fury remain unwinless. Win defeated, unwinning. We're not sure what that is, but they haven't done it. The next game, Windy City Scoregasms, another big number, 173 beating Merci to 124. CMC, 52 burger, 30 out of both the Seahawks defense and Kyron Williams. The only real notable hole is that Kyle Pitts experience in the tight end, but when you're scoring 173, it doesn't really matter. Merci, 124. CJ Stroud, a bright spot, but you did have Fields on the bench outscoring him by 10. Didn't matter this week, but that would be something to watch moving forward. The Ravens defense with 26 was a nice number. And then really a 12-point advantage of that in that kicker spot just wasted. You do see some depth on the Merci side. You see more depth on the Windy City Scoregasms. 6 players on their bench in double figures. That feels like it's got to be one of your favorites moving forward. And then the final game, what we described as a big rivalry, the Pimps taking care of Poway Titans 168-87 in the Houston's Bowl. As a side note, the Pimps were the only underdog not only to cover, but they ended up winning outright. So a big week for the favorites. A.J. Brown, 42 in the win. The Russell Wilson letting Russ cook. Had some questions going into the week, but he proves himself. And then getting 18 from your kicker, enough to get you by Poway. Poway starts 2 and gets 16, and Lamar on the bench with 32. Again, that's going to be a coin flip for him all year. Brandon Ayuk with 23, and then 5 players in single digits for Poway, including 2 10s. So 7 players at 10 or lower. And off week for Poway, they're at 2 and 2 this year. So before we get into Mike Oxenfire, there was one note that we picked up. In the last 2 weeks, 8 of the 10 franchises have scored 167 points or more. Only Merci and Sin have not gotten there. But just some high-scoring weeks in the last 2 weeks in the League of Gentlemen. That gets us to one of our favorite segments of the week, Mike Oxenfire at gmail.com. Mike works hard for us. He does a ton of stats and information in the back side of the pod. He does all the production and that kind of thing. So we would love to have you email Mike Oxenfire at gmail.com. Again this week, no emails from Mike, although we did get one voicemail on the hotline. Mike, do we have that queued up?
Mike Oxenfire, long-time listener here. I just wanted your opinion because I'm a big fan. My question is, record-wise or shit-talking-wise? Oops, can I say shit-talking on the air? I don't know. Either way, what is your opinion on the top rivals in the league? Something along the lines of Ohio State, Michigan, The Yankees and Red Sox, Gates Jobs, Ollie Frazier, Marvel versus DC, David Goliath, Hatfield McCoy. I think you'll get the picture. Thanks for taking my call, Los Zorros.
Oh, Los Zorros. Joel, thanks for the call, man. That's great. Yeah, rivalries are a big part of the League of Gentlemen, as we said before. Some of the biggest happening in the weeks surround us. So we'll just go through each of the team and maybe tell you who their rivals are. The Scoregasms, the newest team in the league, seem to have a little bit of a rivalry with everybody. They came into the league with some bravado. Lots of teams looking at how they performed against the Scoregasms week to week over those first couple of years. But winning the championship in week 4, the rivalry that looks to have developed the most, probably against the Avengers. Taking the championship game last week, a lot of shit talking, as the Zorros refer to it, between both teams. So that is a fun one to watch. We will say Scoregasms Avengers as one of the league rivalries. Merci Beaucoup came in right along with Young to the league. That is a natural rival, so we kind of match that up. But the Young, on the other hand, has a even more natural rival, facing his dad once or twice a year. So Young and Confused, Who's Your Daddy? We lock down as the next rivalry on the board. The Fury, kind of a natural rival with the Zorros. There has been some games back and forth that have gone, kind of both ways. A championship or a semifinal here and there. Some intense talk back and forth. But really, when you look at the Zorros franchise, been in the league a long time, the Zorros and Sin have, since their infancy, gone back and forth and been a huge rivalry. I believe the Sin had to wear a Zorros costume to a draft once. We're not sure exactly what the Zorros had to do on the other side of that bet, but the Sin and the Zorros log in as our third rivalry. And then for the Pimps and the Poway Titans, both teams have rivalries with the Avengers. One going back to some roommate, one is the Logjam Bowl, but we felt that those two teams probably have the long-standing rival as two of the original teams. The Pimps and the Poway Titans squared off this week. Pimps got the better of it. We call that the Houston's Bowl because these guys go back a ways, back to the Houston's bar. So thanks for the question, Joel. That was some fantastic stuff. Lots of rivalries in the Logjam, and we love to chat about it. Next week's games, pretty blanket statement here. I'm going with the favorites. It almost went out last week. I think it's going to win out next week. So quickly through the games, the Zorros at 3-1, traveling to Who's Your Daddy at 3-1. The Zorros are the favorite on the road, giving 6 to the Daddies. Game number 2, the 2-2 Avengers traveling to the aforementioned Windy City Scoregasms in a rivalry battle. Windy City favored by 8. It's gonna be a blowout. Game number 3, the Pimps 3-1 traveling to the 0-4 Fury. A chance for the Pimps to face the Music. If they lose to the Fury, would be a potential fine for losing to the last winless team. But the Pimps are favored by 16. We don't see any issues there. One note for the Furies, their points against, they are facing on average 181.75 points a game. Wow, is karma biting him in the ass for the last couple of years. Game number 4, the Poway Titans, 2-2, traveling to the Sin. The Poway Titans are favored on the road. And in the final game, Young and Confused, also 2-2, traveling to Merci, also favored on the road by 6 points. We think the Young and Confused are going to take that one. Interesting points that we brought up in some of those rivalry things. And we had a question a couple of weeks from James Imberry about how we could potentially find out who in the league was potentially, who are the teams, who are the franchises, who are the owners, that kind of thing. So we put together a little bit of work thanks to Mike Oxenfire. It's going to go on your screen. We may try to ship this over to you. But as you notice, that is the current rosters. We're going to start on the left-hand side. Gary Israelson and the Windy City Scoregasms came into the league in 2020, as you kind of see us scrolling down there a little bit. They have been, 2020 to present, is their 4th year in the league. They do have a championship. They took over a franchise that was once owned by the Hebrew Hammers and REKs, but before that, owned by the Mondays, Brian Lesko and Drew Keller, and Andrea's Bunch of Pussies for one season in 2008. In 2014, you'll see 2 new additions to the league, the Merci Beaucoup and Young and Confused. Young and Confused, Andrew Farrell, Merci Beaucoup from Steve Faulkner. The franchise history of Merci, very simple. They came in and they took over the Hebrew Hammers the first time. RK spent 5 years in the league from 08 to 13. sat a year out and came back, took over the franchise now owned by Windy City from 2015 to 2019. Young and Confused, a few more owners in the past. Mr. Tea Time from 2011 to 2013. Almond Schaff had two teams, I Touchdown There and You're in Trouble in 2009 2010. And then, ironically enough, Binter's Fury in 2008 was the original owner of that franchise. A little bit like the Browns and Bengals. One owner peeling off, starting a second franchise. So while the Binter's Fury started in 2010, this is Binter's 15th season, despite looking like he came in two times there. Matt's Seahawks were there from 2008 and 2009. Also been in the league since 2010. Who's Your Daddy from 2010 to present, taking over Todd's Mintek, and Mike's Fuck You Pay Me, Marandino there, of course. The 15 season mark hit this year by the Zorros also. They are 2009 to present, missing just one season. Wick's Deep Balls and Scott Wick owned that franchise in 2008. Interesting to see two names there. The Tempe Terminators and Los Guapos tried out by Joel. Again, starting and then ending again with Los Zorros. So we're happy to see that. And then that gets you to your four original franchises. The Cardinal Sin, the Sin 2 technically, Your Mom's Pimpin' Darren Adams, the Poway Titans of Billy McAllister, and Tom Bria, and the Avalon Avengers as your original four franchises. So thanks for tuning in, you guys. Quick note, RIP to Dick Butkus, man. Sad news on the Bears side. But we love to. Thanks for tuning in. Darren, look forward to seeing you here next week. Can't ever leave me alone, man. It's never going to work out. See you, bye. Be back.